Welcome to the Life with Grief podcast. I'm your host, grief and soul purpose coach, and fellow griever, Tara Accardo. Welcome back to Life with Grief and this powerful episode with Negin Cheleh. As I mentioned in part one of my conversation with her, I want to acknowledge some potential trigger warnings in the second part of this series as well. This includes domestic abuse, which we dig into a little more here in this part than we did last time, mental health struggles, sexual assault, oppression, and very complex family and cultural dynamics that may be difficult to hear. As always, I hope you listen with openness and compassion for Negin and her story. And this chat culminates in briefly talking about the incredible work that she has done in creating PathPal as well, a resource that I know so many of you may need or are looking for. And frankly, to hear how she has taken all of this deep and profound trauma in her life and hearing how she has coped with this and continues to cope with this on a day-to-day basis truly is so next level inspirational. It's really difficult for me to put it into words, but truly, again, I am so honored to hold this space for her and share her story with you. I'm so excited for you to hear the rest of this and the mindset that she has been able to tap into after going through all of this. And I have no doubt it is going to help you hearing this today. So let's get into part two.
And I said,
What?
what? Like, you're going to get married today. So you're going to go get a dress and you're going to get married. And I thought, what is he talking about? And he left, and I pick up my cell phone and I called this guy and I'm like, well, what is he talking about? And he's like, well, it's a good deal. It's a good opportunity. And I thought,
I'm
oh
sorry,
my
what?
God. I'm like, oh my God, you've agreed to this. Like, you've all agreed to this. And I thought, okay, I guess this is my way out. This is what okay. And I went to it was like a little plaza that had dresses. And I remember standing in this mirror, and I just remember standing and wearing this dress that looked like it was for like a much older woman who was
Yeah.
like, like, I don't even know, like senior citizen outfit, like a cardigan, some pink thing, just a horrible outfit. And I remember looking in the mirror and I had this bald patch on my middle of my head. And I remember just staring at myself and being like, what am I, like,
How is
I'm
this
so
even my
far
life?
removed
Like,
from who I am. Like, and then I'd have these moments of like other people around me and I'd be like, look at these people living this life. Like, oh, to be so fucking naive, like to
yeah,
be part of their world for a minute, like what I would give to know what it would feel like to be part of that world of people just at a mall eating stuff and talking crap, or I don't even know what they were doing. I was just like, oh, to be them for a minute.
right.
And I get this outfit and I don't even remember who was with me. I put it on and I'm in a now I'm sitting in a minivan, my dad's silver minivan, green minivan, Dodge Caravan, green Dodge Caravan, sitting in it. And my dad's in the front, my uncle's there. And I'm driving my ass to a wedding, to the mosque. I get out of bed. I'm standing there. He's standing there laughing. We go inside. I don't know what they're saying because they're speaking Arabic.
Mhm.
And I have a little shawl on my forehead, of my hair. The only part that I remember that was English was they turned to my dad, the mullah, the holy man, and said, what's her dowry? How much is she worth? She needs a dowry in this. And my dad turns to him and goes, how much is your car? And he goes, $1,200. It's a 94 Camaro, black Camaro, $1,200. And he goes, my dad looks at the guy and goes, put her down for $1,200, the value of his car. And I'm like, all right,
I don't even
cool,
have words.
great. And then I remember in that, the only thing I kept thinking about was, I'm still alive.
Mhm.
I'm still alive. I can do this. I just have to figure it out. There has to be a moment where I can get out of this. I'm still alive. I will
That
figure it out.
survival strategic part of you coming up again.
It was just like, I have to get through this. I just have to get through this. And I ended up in one-bedroom apartment off of in Canada off of Highway 10. It's not a beautiful area, and
Mm,
a really apartment 1110, the 11th floor, apartment 1110. I always thought that was interesting. And
big number for you.
the first night there, um, I started saying to him, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't, I want to go home. Like, and I didn't even know what the definition of home
What was
was. And
home? I was literally just thinking that. I was like, "What is even home for
what's,
you now?"
what is home? And
And
I
I
remember
live there.
just, and my siblings, they were in it too. There wasn't much they could do. I know that there wasn't much they can do.
Mhm.
And I just sat in this apartment, and I had no means to do anything. And I remember he came up to me, and he sat down, and he said, "Who the hell do you think you are? Talk to me like that." And I'm like, I would just kept crying. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to fight you. I don't want to do this. And he just hit me and probably spent a solid hour and a half just kicking me, punching me, spitting on me. That was a fun thing for him to do. And I remember I don't even know how, but it became a mechanism. It started when I was raped. After the first rape, I started to count through it. Like, it was like a mechanism. I would just be like, okay, it's usually lasts about to 100, so 100, 99, 98. And it was
Oh my
just a way to keep my mind in a place where it wasn't feeling, it was in an action mode. So if I'm counting, I'm not doing anything else. I'm focusing on that. And I started doing it again during the abuse. And it was all the time. It was just all the time. And every time I said anything, he was just a sociopath. I had friends who used to say to me, "Oh, he's so charming. Your husband's so charming. He knows everything." Like, we're talking next level, Charles Manson, sociopath,
Jesus Christ.
truly. And he just would charm his way out of everything. I would call the police. He would hit himself when they would come. So he would say it was an altercation,
Oh, you
start crying. And it was a week after that where the choke, like, the first time I was choked. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm so far removed that, and I cannot explain to you how that feels,
mm,
to know that something is around you, the idea that you cannot breathe, that you cannot actually breathe. And I remember thinking, do I let him just do it? Do I let him just do it? And if I let him do it, like, would anyone actually show up for me? Like, and then I remember thinking, like, maybe if I
mm,
live long enough, and then I do it, then someone kills me or I die, maybe I would have had purpose to my life. But, like, if I died now, it would just be the most pathetic life. Like, it would have just been the girl that just really never had a chance. Like,
yeah.
and so the first time he did it, you learn as you go through trauma or any significant experiences where you're, like, physically detained. You learn to read rooms well because you have to learn your exit points. And so I
Right.
knew there was an alarm clock, and I remember grabbing the alarm clock, and I hit him as hard as I could in his nose, and his nose started bleeding, and he let go of me. And I hadn't even looked in the mirror. The cops came. We lived in a crappy building. They didn't. I was just honestly, I was probably one of 8 calls they get,
Right, right.
whatever. And it was the woman who lived next door, Ruby. She's now passed, who truly saved my entire life during that period of time living there. Um, she would hear all the police calls, and she was a retired private investigator from
Oh my
Chicago.
god. Wow.
He retired and met a guy and ended up living in that building. And it was just a coincidence that she was in that building.
Wow.
She saved my life over and over again. She saved, I tried to throw myself off the building. She pulled me in. Like she just, there are so many parts of my life this woman saved. And she became like a mom figure to me. She truly was like a mother to me. And I built a community around them. And life changed. You learn to adapt. You learn to have this new way of life. And so he would do what he did, and she would give me this weird sense of joy and comfort. I'd stay with her when he was just too much. And this parallel universe of like joy and trauma lived in one, because I found comfort with her and I had
Mhm.
pain with him.
Right.
And I remember just knowing that I had this other person was like enough for me because I had nobody else. And years of that went on. And it wasn't until nearly 8.5 years later, um, I was, he would, he was sexually violent. Um, and it resulted in my son, who truly saved my life. His birth saved who I am today.
Mhm.
And, you know, it was only from my husband today that I had the courage to even call the police and get out of the situation that I was in.
Mhm.
But it was people. It was always people that either understood or, gave me a hand that got me out of that situation, because
Mhm.
that was a decade just with him of abuse. I think the last time I requested police records just to see them after 55 counts of domestic
Oh,
violence.
you've gotta be
Never
kidding.
He never saw a day in prison, never saw a day in jail. He had one night actually when he was first actually charged and arrested. Um, but he never did. And he hasn't to this day. He's repeated it, but he hasn't to this day. And my husband today, I actually took him back about 9.5 years ago to the building, and we
Mhm.
knocked on the door, and Ruby actually opened the door. She was still there at the time.
Oh,
And she just started crying. And she said, I knew you'd live. I knew you could do
oh
it.
my god, I'm
And I
teary.
just had that most beautiful moment with her. But
Oh my
I went through most of life just holding all of this in this big bag and trying to make
mhm.
sense of it. When I met Jason, it was like I now had this opportunity to live this normal life, or what I thought would be this normal life, and start to live a life in
Yeah.
my 30s almost. But as I got older and as I carried it with me, I recognized that that is unfortunately almost all of me.
Yep.
And so I can't go to work like most people and just, "Hi, how are you? How's your day? Good. How's your
No.
coffee?" I don't. I wake up every day and I have these memories that I have to work through.
Right.
And I started going to these AA groups, and I say it's not because I was an alcoholic or anything. It was
Mhm.
because I found AA groups hold people accountable,
Yeah.
and they have this beautiful system where it's based on sobriety and based on like this system that every day is this new day. Every day you choose to be
Mhm.
sober. And I
Mhm.
love that mentality. I love that you could sit together and you could hold each other accountable. You could support each other. And they got me through it. Those
Yeah.
people got me through it. And in 2018, this my secret keeper,
Mhm.
Melissa, um, we had been trying to connect and we just couldn't. It was just life. And I I was scrolling through Instagram posts, and someone, and like literally 2 weeks before that we were supposed to hang out, and like I said, we just couldn't make it. And that day during lunch I was going through posts, and I was just trying to, doing the thing people do on Instagram, just kind of shuffle through people. And someone had put a picture of Melissa, it was her face, and I knew that her birthday was kind of coming up. So I was like, this is a weird birthday post. And I read the caption that said, "Our condolences." And I remember thinking, condolences, like what the hell would, what is, why am I, what is this?
Mhm.
And I read more, and I kept going through it, and I looked at the obituary, and I realized Melissa had passed. I couldn't even bring myself to go to her funeral. One, from shame, and two, from just, I just couldn't. I was froze. And
Yeah.
here I am thinking to myself that this whole entity of Melissa that I believe to be like this perfect shell, this most beautiful woman, full of light, full of energy, I didn't see the dark. And maybe it was
Yeah.
always there. Maybe that's how her and I always connected. And I just didn't see it when we were kids, when we were young. Maybe there
Mhm.
These were secrets I didn't know. And after that, it was really when I said, okay, mental health, grief, loss has to be part of my life, and it is my life. It's not separate from me. I will
Mhm.
grieve forever. I will grieve so many parts of who I was, who I'm not, what I could have been, what I've lost. I have that every day. I have moments every day where someone does something or something, someone has some sort of adventure. Someone has a just a first time for things, and I think like I never got that. So then we decided, okay, well then we're going to build something. Then I'm going to build it. And so they say, necessity is the mother of invention, and came
Mhm.
and I thought, okay, if I can't save everyone, because I can't, it takes a community, it takes a village, it takes a global commitment to put your hand up and say, I'm going to show up for people. And so
Yeah.
how do we do that? And I thought, okay, well, we're going to have to do it. It has to be an app. Technology is the way, right?
Yep.
That's the way that I can give access to everyone. And so we went on the journey of creating PathPal, a community of people who shared experiences in grief and loss, to find each other and to get the resources they need. Because I
Yeah.
didn't have that. And
That's very clear. I mean, not even sure where to start.
yeah,
I mean, we could be here for hours, trying to I mean, I think for me, when I hear your story, I just look at you and first of all, I think we've I even said this when we first met, and I'm just like, "I'm just so sorry." And it's like, what do you say? "Thanks." "Yeah,
yeah,
it sucked." You know what I mean?
yeah,
What you have had to endure is so the depth of it, I don't think, most of us can even remotely begin to I mean, I always like to say, like, we can put ourselves in other people's shoes. We can imagine, which is why I get emotional because I am just imagining this, like, happening to myself or any other loved one I have. Um, and trying to begin to understand how one, for lack of a better term, I'm gonna say comes out of it, right? Taps into something so deep within yourself to survive and to just hold on, which you had to do lost track of how many times, right? In any given moment, any time that you had these absolutely horrific things happening to you. And in your own words, I mean that it- you almost weren't going to be here, right? With in some of these situations just being so dire. And there's so much here that I would want to unpack with you. I mean, how you even maintain or have like a relationship with your parents, particularly your dad, right? After all of this, we we expect that parents are people that bring us into this world to love and protect us. Not I don't wanna say your parents don't love you, but, there was from my perspective, not to project, but there was certainly a lack of protection, to say the absolute least. Um, Let me just ask you this, how have you made peace with that? How does one begin to make peace with that? I think because in terms of anyone listening here today who maybe has maybe not even as severe of a traumatizing relationship with their parents or just such a lack of protection, like, but anyone who can remotely relate to any of that, someone, again, to say the least, not showing up and
yeah,
not living up to expectations that we would hope.
yeah.
Where do you even begin finding peace? What does that look like for you?
So that's interesting. I spent many years, and that's why I say I've summed up much of this, but I've
Yeah.
spent many years in a horrible, horrible place with them. So there was no communication for a long time,
Mhm.
and mostly because I had just moments of rage with them, and it wasn't even throughout the process. It was after. It was when during the healing,
Of course,
and
yeah.
when I met my husband, and I found what love feels like, and the love of my children and the love of
Mhm.
my daughter. It was my daughter being born that really, I still, and I will not forgive.
Mhm.
What I've done is I've placed myself in in a sense of understanding. So
Right.
I'm I understand that they didn't have the tools
Mhm.
in the way that they were raised to understand empathy and emotion in your children.
Yeah.
They were raised in a society that does brainwash you,
Yeah.
and we have seen firsthand what that kind of brainwashing has done globally. So you can
Mhm.
only imagine the kind of impact it has more localized in a household.
Yeah.
So I hold them accountable for what they've done. I have
Good.
lost so much of who I am. I
Yeah.
could have been better. So it's not fair to say I'm stronger. I could have been better. I could have had it's not fun. I have physical pain I deal with. Like I have the pains that people have in their 80s and 90s where their bodies are depleting. No one understands what being physically assaulted for over a decade does to your body. No one understands what having been choked does to the fact that I have such pain in my jaw. I'm medicated for it. That I've lost ability in my chewing muscles, like that my swallow it hurts permanently. I live with those. So I can't forgive that,
Yeah, of
but
course.
I understand how they got there. And from my own sense, I I have let go. I've chosen
Mhm.
to make peace with the fact that they are my parents, and I see them as individuals who didn't get an opportunity to give me perhaps the things that I needed in the way that I needed them.
Mhm.
But I will say this, I am a deeply traumatized person. I probably should not have the kind of relationship that I do. And I think it's important to note that
Mhm.
because what's wrong is wrong.
Yeah.
What's wrong is wrong.
Mhm.
And what's right is just right. And there
Yeah.
is no gray.
Mhm.
So they're the only parents that I have. And as a human being, I don't wish them any ill will. As a human, I believe that I was given the most incredible chapter, and I'm thankful for that. And the darkness that they live with and that they have to live with is theirs and
That's
not
on
mine.
them. Yeah.
And I send that away from me. I
Beautiful.
can't move forward holding hate
Right.
because it doesn't breed anything good.
Mhm.
It just doesn't. I don't
Right.
have room for it. And so I send them light. And even to this day, more so my mother, because I'm sure she didn't feel like she had a choice. And when I was in my survival mode, there's times and things I didn't feel like I had a choice but to do.
Mhm.
And so I understand what survival feels like. And
Right.
perhaps she was surviving. And so I've found those moments where I think to myself, she also endured,
Yeah.
and she became who she is from having endured so much, so often. She didn't
Yeah.
come with peace. She didn't have peace in her life. And so I woman to woman, I
Mhm.
sympathize. Mother to daughter, I have pain. I hold pain. And I'll
Yeah.
hold that forever, and she knows that.
Mhm.
And for me, I've just made space to hold love so that I can be a good mother,
Mhm.
that I can be a good friend, so I can be a good parent, so I can be a good person. I've I've made peace with that.
Yeah. Can I ask, with your abusers, unfortunately plural, is it has it kind of been the same process? I mean, they're not parents, right? So, the relationship is exponentially different. Um, how have you begun to, again, I'll say, for lack of a better term, make peace with that, move forward with that as a part of these chapters that you've lived. Um, I think many of us, I can speak for many listeners here who might have a hard time understanding how you continue on after
Yeah.
enduring what you have for as long as you did.
My, ex-husband, to this day, uh, the thought of him terrorizes me.
Mhm.
He's,
And is he still just free? He's
oh,
just around?
he's free. About, 3 years ago, I got a call from the police department, and they said, "We just wanna make sure that your son has no access to him." I said, "My son hasn't had access to him since he was a year and a half
Yeah.
years old." And they said, "Okay, we're just making sure because, um, he was recently arrested and it involved a child." And I
Oh
thought
my
to
god.
myself, "Okay."
No.
And since then, Jason has adopted Keon, so
Mm-mm.
we've made
That's
peace with that. But,
amazing.
um, he terrorizes me because the last thing he ever said to me was, "One day I'll find you and I will kill you."
Oh my
And I don't doubt that if he found me and could kill me, he would kill me. But we have a criminal system that has let him go more times than it's ever let
yeah.
him.
Yep.
We have um, a society that if you are a charming white male, regardless of any other things, you can probably talk your way out of most things, especially if
Mhm.
you are well spoken, which he is. And he fools a lot of he fools people each
It's
time. And I think
horrifying.
that's more to say. That's less to say about him and more to say about the kinds of people that we
Yeah.
have in
Yep.
our society. But he will find me online, and he will find ways to find um, my son online, and we block and we do all these things. I'll never forgive him. I will never
No.
forgive him,
Of course.
ever. I will. He choking me was one of the kindest forms of torture. He would wake me up in the middle of the night, sometimes at 2 a.m., just to wake me up to make sure I was awake and tell me that I wasn't allowed to close my eyes until 7 o'clock in the morning. And he would sit there
What?
and wait for me. He would grab my hair in the car, like he'd be driving, and he'd just start bashing my head into the glass on the side of the window if I spoke out of turn. And by spoking out of turn, I mean just having a
Speaking.
conversation.
Speaking. Oh
He
my
is a
god.
man who needs to be in prison, and he is a man who will one day kill someone. I don't doubt it. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. I
Just a
that's
matter of when. And my uncle, this is the first time in my life at 42 years old that I have publicly said that it was him. Um, I've written about it, and I have excerpts that I'm publishing very soon that I'm
yeah.
speaking about it, but this is the first time I'm saying it. So to some people, including family members, it'll be the first time they're hearing who it was and what had
Wow.
happened. They know parts of it. I don't think they know who or what.
Right. Or the extent of the torture. The act. Yeah.
And I think it'll be disruptive. But I think that if I'm going out there and I'm saying that I'm building a community of people,
Yeah.
then we're going to get together and we're going to change the world, then I have to
Yeah.
be able to change my life first, right? And that
Yeah.
starts with telling the truth.
Right. It I'm, like, laughing almost out of discomfort. It's like, okay, you think this is an inconvenience and disruptive to you, friends and family? Imagine
Yeah.
being the one to go through this and have to hold that and have to attempt to heal from that. I mean, you
There's no
I there
healing.
there's no words. I
There's
can't even I'm never going to be, that's never going to be the glory story for me. I'm never going to wake up and go, "Oh my God, today's the day where I'm healed." It's not going to happen. I don't have room. right.
It's
Yeah.
not possible. I've lived more as a
Mhm.
prisoner than
Yeah.
as a free person. I've
Yep.
lived longer as a prisoner. So I have I have a lot ahead of me. And when I say, and that's why, back to your original question,
Yeah.
fun fact about yourself. right? I have to I don't know.
I hope people truly understand now, after hearing all of this, what that really means for you. And there's because there's a lot of people, um, that that kinda joke for, "Oh, I don't really have a lot of fun, I have a lot of responsibility." No, no, no. You don't. Not to compare, not to negate anything that they've been through, anything going on in anyone's life, right? But I just hope people walk away today with an overwhelming sense of gratitude,
Yeah.
um,
Seriously.
for what they do have, for the beauty that they do have, for their freedom. I think with grief, right? When we go through grief and loss and stuff, it of course puts things into perspective. And something in my own journey, you know, once my parents died was, the things that people like complain about or the things that people, get hung up on.
Right.
And I'm like, and this is, I mean, I felt this. So I know you have only felt this 200 fold, right? Like you can't even probably begin to wrap your head around this, but like, I'm like, what are you complaining about?
Right.
What is this really that important? Is this minor inconvenience for you? like
Right.
like that big of a thing, it really it makes us feel so like, I don't wanna say, like, small in the grand scheme of things, you know what I mean? But it's almost like if you think about, like, the universe and our place in it and how small it really is, and, like, not that our lives are insignificant or anything, but, like, when you hear stories like yours and you understand the gravity of loss that people go through. Again, I alluded in the beginning, like, your story, you're right, like, you are not the only person who has been raped and abused and all of abs yes, but all of your experiences compounded and what you said earlier, right, how you have lived most, if not all of your life up until perhaps recently, a prisoner. Like, I just ask anyone listening to this, like, please, for 2 minutes, put themselves in your shoes and really ask yourself how you would have come out of that, if you could have come out of that, how you even begin to heal and make, I say this so surface level, right? Like, make peace with
Right.
it. When I almost say making peace, it's like what I really mean is how you function each
Right.
and every day, because you could easily not be functioning right now. And not to say that all day, every day is perfect or anything, but I think I'm in just such awe and amazement of you that not only can you sit here and tell this story and be so painfully vulnerable and honest with it. So just thank you so much for that. But also now taking everything that you have been through, your literal story of survival, and these learnings, right? These small, maybe revelations that you've had of how that you are waking up and you are choosing to live, and you are choosing, nope, I'm going to choose joy. I'm going to show up for my children, and I'm going to take it a step further and acknowledge how my community around me, had I not had the right people around me, like kind of like I would not be here, sort of.
Yeah.
And now you are creating, you are giving back in such a way that it's going to help so many people. And I just hope people understand how big of a deal that is, because PathPal did not come from nowhere, right? But like many of us, I think, in the work that we do around grief and loss, we've all been through something. I don't think any of us who choose
No,
to be in this line of work, if you will,
right.
having not gone through that and can understand it to some level. What you have endured, again, I still struggle to even find the words right now because it is so shocking and so inhumane. And I mean, you just explained it, but I'm still in awe and in shock of how you can even sit here right now and present yourself so beautifully and so eloquently and be able to own this story as yours. Many people can go their whole life harboring that
Yeah.
and keeping that in, and here you are. And not that it's not difficult or that it hasn't taken time or whatever, but the fact that you are standing in this and owning it as yours and are comfortable writing about it now and speaking about it. I mean, I just cannot even begin to express how big of a deal that is. Like, I feel like anything I say today just doesn't even begin to
No, I
like,
no,
you
I
know,
appreciate and I understand that,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's not, it I just think that it took a long time to get to a place where I could speak about it in, like, a really comfortable way.
Yeah.
I think I think it's important to say I've and when I say that I'm here at the point where I'm talking about it and it's my life's work because and when I say that there's no other work that really
Mhm.
aligns with what I could be doing with my life, to people listening who haven't experienced this level
Yeah.
of trauma, it's all relative. I'm not better or worse than you. You're not better or your life is yours, mine's mine.
Mhm.
I don't wish this on anyone.
Yeah.
I don't I don't wish this on myself. I wish I didn't go through it. I want
Of course.
I've loved a different version of this for myself,
Mhm.
but I have to work with what I have. And I've found myself just being in situations, even in workplaces where I meant to do well, but I'm so naive because the minute someone would be kind, it's like I would throw myself at them because
Mhm.
I had so much um, pain.
Mhm.
And that doesn't really work well in the corporate world because
Yeah.
you do things because you're leaning in with heart and you're leaning in with
Mhm.
trauma and you're making bad decisions. And so I I honestly the we're doing this and I thought to myself I should do my hair and I should like go and sit somewhere else because I've recently moved and I thought to myself the hell with all of that. I'm not doing this because I'm trying
Mhm.
to be this is me. This is me.
Yeah.
This is my curly hair. This is what I am. I'm sitting on a bed right now because I don't have a table to use and this is my life and it's always
Yeah.
been this way.
Yeah.
And honestly, I want people to if you haven't been through this shit, congratulations. You won the lottery, man. Enjoy your life. Enjoy
Yeah.
all of it. If you are grieving and you are finding it hard to get through the days, live around your grief. You don't have to put it away. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
It's going to be there. Get build power by talking about it. Say people's names who've passed. Be
Yeah.
proud of the people and the relationships you had with them. Life is hard. Life is so hard. It's not easy for anybody. It's harder for some. It's easier for others. Some have more access, more tools. We're just people though.
Yeah.
I I'm just a person, you're just a person. We have the ability to help each other. We
Yes.
have the ability and means always to listen. It's free. It doesn't
Mhm.
take anything from you. It
No.
can give you a hell of a lot. It saved my life.
Mhm.
People time saved my life.
Yeah.
Complete strangers.
Yeah.
They had I had nothing to give them. I had
Mhm.
nothing and they saved me. And they're the reason I'm here. There's a
Yeah.
series of people with a series of names that I would happily have tattooed all over my body, and they're why I'm here. They're
Yeah.
just why I'm here. And this isn't a happy tale. It is now. There are parts of my life that are just I would have I sometimes I'm like people say to me, "What do you want for your birthday? What do you want for your birthday? What do you want?" Thinking like this is such a silly concept, but you have no idea I have everything. I have everything because I've only ever had any of this once in my life. So I want so much for the next generation to be more empowered. I encourage everyone to talk to their children about mental health and wellness. I encourage you talk to people about grief, talk to children about grief.
Yeah.
We're all going to experience it. When my parents pass, I'm going to grieve their loss. I will grieve their loss. It is a topic we don't talk often enough about, how many people lose so many parts of themselves, so many versions
Yes.
of themselves.
Yes.
And I'm just so thankful now to have a platform. I'm thankful for you to offer me a platform.
Of course.
And it's hard. Every day is hard. Every day is
Mhm.
hard. Um, but I wake up and I remember and I remind myself I chose life
Yeah, you did. And over and over. Oh my
over
god.
and over again. I chose life.
Yeah, for years. And, like, I don't think people understand the gravity of that. I think it's something we take advantage of,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, I don't think a lot of people many people probably here listening, I don't wanna, like, assume, but, like, I still think many of us cannot begin to wrap our head around, again, the level of trauma that you have been through, and that very simple, but not simple at all, decision to wake up and choose life, right? It's not just this is so beyond, like, waking up and choosing gratitude, choosing joy, choosing to have a good day. Mm-mm. Like, this was so
It,
much more raw for you.
it's raw. And I'll say, like, everything's a choice. When you
Yeah.
start choosing life, then it means you're choosing joy, you're choosing happiness. You're not
Right.
gonna
Yeah.
wake up and be happy. Don't ever wake up and assume, like, don't
Mhm.
be sad that you're not happy. Like, I tell people all this, they go, "Well, I just woke up and I'm feeling eh." I'm like, "Well, but that's your choice.
Mm.
You can feel happy, you have to pursue it. The pursuit of happiness is a thing, but
Mhm.
it starts with your decision to say, I choose life and then I choose happy. Then you go and you figure that out. But you've got to
Yeah.
figure it out. No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to hand it to you. And
Amen.
the drug and the alcohol and the purse and the bag and the money and the better husband and the better job, it's not, the bar will just keep going up and you'll never, ever, ever get there because we're trained that way. We're trained in North America to just
Yeah.
keep moving that bar up
Oh my god,
and
yeah.
just keep going there, and you won't get there. You will never get there. So you have to throw away all that shit, and that's the one thing that all of this has taught me. I've never had that. I couldn't.
Yeah.
There was no bar
Yeah.
because there was no platform to
Right.
stand on to get to
You
the
don't even have
bar.
a foundation.
So you just got to keep going, and you can't be
Yeah.
scared, and you can't be intimidated, and you're going through shit. You're not going to stop. I've grieved. You're going to grieve. I'm probably going to grieve again. I'm going to grieve probably very soon. It's just life.
Yeah.
Have to make decisions, and you can be upset and you cannot like the result, but it doesn't change the fact that you still have to make the choice.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it. I couldn't have said it better. You totally took my last question for you too, which was just what, word of wisdom or advice or tip or piece of guidance would you give to someone listening here that is struggling? And I think everything you just said is like just chef's kiss. Hit the nail on the head. The last thing I just wanted to end on, because we've touched on PathPal here a little bit, but if people are interested in downloading, like, where can they find you? What can they expect in this app? Obviously, community. Are there any special, like, features? Like, is there anything just that anyone here listening,
Yeah,
you just wanna give them an idea of what they could find with PathPal, like, give them
yeah,
a
for sure.
paint a picture?
Yeah, no, it's on the Apple Store right now. It's be for Android later. You can also check it on mypathpal.com. But essentially, when you download the app, you create your profile. I encourage everyone to create a profile. That way, you can kind of connect with other people. You can
Mhm.
choose the kinds of companion, whether you want a companion, a friend. You're open to all kinds of relationships. It's totally up to you. And after you're done creating your profile, you have the option of exploring workshops. So there's a number of coaches and master classes that we host. It's anywhere from mental health and wellness, anxiety, to health and nutrition,
Mhm.
all related back to the whole self and really the inner self work. And it's a place where you can chat and you can connect and you can kind of meet other people with like-minded losses or shared experiences, but you can also work on yourself and you can
Yeah.
also work in groups. So we've taken sort of the approach of, okay, well, you've gone into grief groups and they do great work there.
Mhm.
And at the same time, you've got your traditional means of meeting friends through social apps. How do you bring those worlds together where people
Right.
can connect with people who've shared the same experience? So the common denominator is the same. Uh, no misunderstandings. Everyone understands you on that app. You join it.
Yeah.
It's the kind of the little, it's everyone's secret that we all get
Mhm.
you. And
Yeah.
we're all here because we're trying to work through it together. And for some, it's more difficult. So if they're having trouble uh, re-engaging in social activities, this is a great platform for that because you
Yeah.
can safe space, and people are there who don't need to over explain yourself to.
Right. That was one of the things that I thought of
Great.
first when I was, like, hearing this app and talking to you about it was I know many grievers, people that I coach, and even they're just like, "Ugh, I'm just not super comfortable with other people yet." Like, they need to ease into it maybe a little bit more. Maybe they're not super ready for, like, community, 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 and that's okay, and that's what I love so much about this option and this app is, like, it allows you to do it on your terms. There's no pressure. And you don't have to over explain because and that was one of the things as I was listening to your story, I had this count, I don't know how many or this thought, I don't know how many times, like, how misunderstood you must have how you literally just felt like maybe other than, like, your godmother who like, literally just did not get you, nor did they care to, it seemed, like, mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
I'm still heard your story. I'm gonna be processing your story for the rest of the day. Because again, I went from, like, such deep sadness to absolute freaking rage and just anyway, so I can only, again,
You can only
begin to
imagine
imagine
what's
some of
on
the
my mind.
emotions you had
Yes.
to go through. I'm
Yeah.
just like a bystander hearing this. But anyway, all jokes aside, I love that so much because like you said, I think there are people at very different ends of the spectrum in terms of comfortability and whatever. And I love that they can kind of just explore it. And with the coaches that you mentioned, I know a couple of them, so I really stand behind the people that you're working with. One I've even had on the podcast before, so it's so clear you guys have done your due diligence and every little feature and piece of this app to again just make it so, like I said, heart centered and soul centered and coming from a place of truly understanding the depth of what people might be going through, whatever the type of loss it is, traditional death or clearly, many, many types of grief outside of that. So, there's a place for everyone on this app, and it's something we all need. And I just encourage anyone here, maybe on the fence, like please don't, um, underestimate the importance of community. I've personally done a lot of my grieving experience alone, and W and that's just kind of the way I was raised, it's sort of just the way I just
Yep.
am,
Yep.
but having a community, I'm a part of one now, is, like, such a game changer, and it's not that I maybe don't have great support around me in my personal life, but I don't have anyone around me who has lost both parents, and now
Right.
became a mom herself and is now navigating motherhood and all the things,
Yeah.
um and so having those people that you don't have to, like you said, over explain yourself to, like, it is such a game changer. Like, you sometimes don't even realize it until you're in it and you feel such relief.
Right.
Um, and it's just a beautiful, practice, that you can do as much or as little as you want every day. So I really hope everyone goes and checks it out. Where can people find you? Like website, social media, like where can people connect with you or maybe even get in touch with you if they have questions?
Yeah. So online, it's mypathpal.com. On Instagram, we have a beautiful community that I love very dearly.
Mm.
It's Pathpal community, Pathpal underscore community. And yeah, me personally, it's neg underscore in underscore wonderland, of course. And
Love
you
it.
can more than happy to ask me any questions, or if they come to you and they don't know how to find me, they can ask
Yeah.
you and you can let them know. But yeah, that's about it. I'm pretty much an open book at this point. So this is the time. This is the
We're
time
we're
to
opening you up more.
I just let it all out. So
Yes.
is
Well,
yeah.
the gratitude for you and sharing everything that you have today. I mean, again, I just feel like I had to acknowledge for like the 50 millionth time, like you did not have to come on here and do this. Like the fact that you have such bravery in sharing some of this story, especially with some of these people still out there and all of it. Like, I just want to praise you and acknowledge you. And even outside of all of that, again, just having the wherewithal and the strength to talk about all of these things, like, it does not go unnoticed. I don't think one person listening here today that doesn't, go unnoticed for any of us. So thank you so much for coming on here today. It was such a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I really do.
I am sending you a huge thank you for tuning into today's episode, my friend. I'm so grateful you're here and for the steps you're taking to heal your heart, open your mind, fulfill your soul, learn, grow, and evolve, and move through this crazy thing called life in big, beautiful, impactful ways. Visit lossesbecomegains.com for my blog, more coping tools, ways to work with me, and so much more. And be sure you're following along on Instagram and Facebook at Losses Become Gains, and on Instagram and TikTok at Life with Grief Podcast. I love seeing new faces, meeting new people, hearing your stories, and supporting you however I can. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and share this episode or this podcast with someone who could use it too. And remember to always keep asking yourself, how will I turn my losses into gains today? I'll catch you in the next episode.